Hey there, I'm Mark from Spectrum Pulse, and today we've got another big one for some reason from Justin Bieber SWAG. I honestly don't even know where to start with Justin Bieber in 2025. On the one hand, you can't argue how the public groundswell and backlash put him in a precarious space that he's explored over multiple albums, but on the other hand, it's rarely translated to good music as he remains an impressively blank presence on record and a frequently insufferable songwriter. Now, on the one hand, he's got a fan base that'll ensure he gets charting traction no matter what the music's quality is, but on the other hand, that fan base also seems weirdly divided against itself. From the silent majority mainstream to the last few that see him as a pop heartthrob to a weirdly intense group of guys that only like him when he's making R&B and crashing out. And I don't use the term crash out lightly, because I remember Justin Bieber's 2013 and all the chaos that happened around journals, where there are still some that herald that album as an R&B classic. By God, it is not. All the more proof his male fan base is just as susceptible to a troubled narrative as anyone else. And for the past year, Justin Bieber seems to have been on a similar reckless trajectory, from a falling out with his megachurch to all manner of strange collaborators, to the fact we are getting a Justin Bieber album with no warning nor promo from Def Jam and no management from Scooter Braun. Now, the latter split happened in 2023 and appears to have been long in coming, with Bieber relishing this creative freedom with recordings all over the map since early 2024, with features spanning from Gunna and Sexyy Red to Cash Cobain, Drewski, Lil B, and MKG. But the timing is telling. From Def Jam, in order to go head-to-head with Clips and rob them of top charting position, regardless of assembly or sequencing of this album. See also that Jack Boys 2 thing, which I'm not covering because why the fuck would I waste my time with Travis Scott's Leftovers? I don't even think the fans like that one. Suffice to say, I did not have expectations for SWAG, especially given early reviews that were mixed to say the least. But truthfully, the more listens I gave SWAG, the less interesting the album and the conversation became, mostly because it suffers from all the same issues that Justin Bieber normally has, but tries to convince us, no, really, it's intentional the whole time. I'm not crashing out, I totally have all this. And you know, there's actually a part of me that completely believes him, because while the underlying construction of this album feels haphazard or messy, in execution it is more deliberate and shaggy, more of an R&B jam band session than precisely tuned for the hits, which on the one hand makes for Justin Bieber's loosest and most freewheeling project to date, with more than a few passing glances at Frank Ocean's Blonde or a lot of modern alternative R&B, where if you remember the scrappy YouTube era over 15 years ago, there is a bit of charm in some of that nostalgia, especially with a few abbreviated voice note demos that were included. And nostalgia also underpins this album's production, specifically in the sound palette that feels very rooted in turn of the millennium R&B, from the 90s watery synth choices of All That I Can Take and Too Long, to the reliance on guitars like the solitary MKG collab DAISIES, or the gentle rattle of Butterflies, attempting to create this very chilled out vibe where love is free and anything can happen. Probably feeling the biggest on the Lil B stadium-ready sprawl of DADZ Love, or the breezy, shuffling flutter of the title track with Cash Cobain. And that raises the question of what Justin Bieber can really do with that space and sound. And yet, here's where we hit the make or break point, because R&B relies on convincing displays of emotion, and I just could never shake the feeling that all these songs would be a lot better with the more impressive singer, made all the more glaring as Justin Bieber's voice is often so touched up and processed, I don't get that human connection. It's a similar issue I have with Chris Brown and R&B, in that the overly synthetic vocal mix gets in the way of any soul, and that's all the more glaring for as much as this album keeps trying to tell me that Justin Bieber has soul without convincingly showing it. The Drewski interludes aren't quite as offensive as the multiple Dr. Martin Luther King samples on Justice, but they're also painful to listen through, really cringy, and rooted in the same obnoxious territory of trying way too hard to get a black cultural cosign that spins around to feeling really forced and inauthentic. And when you pair that with the by-the-numbers at best features from Gunna and Sexyy Red, you know what? I believe Justin Bieber. He's got his life under control. He knows exactly what he's doing. Because I can also hear the machine revving up to put his face in front of the genre that deserves better. Or should I just ignore how he stepped on his former collaborator Giveon's rollout and album as much as he's attempted to step on clips. And if I'm going to continue to be uncharitable, for as much as this project is nakedly borrowing from previous decades of R&B, there's little cohesion or flow to the production to match the refinement that came in that era. It's scrappy and shaggy around the edges, but that can just as much mean from Def Jam, we threw this together as quickly as possible from assorted studio sessions in order to outstream clips in this moment, deny them any higher charting position, because it's also overlong with little coherent sequencing. And of course, the writing isn't remotely special. Most of this is just generic love songs where Bieber is pleading for his partner to give him a little space to process his emotions, but also that she should totally be by him. Certainly better than the clunky attempts at metaphor like on the first verse of YUKON, or how First Place feels like his version of Ratchet Happy Birthday, not a comparison you want, or how his attempts to use urban slang but only seems to have half the context and barely uses it well, or when the performance and the content isn't special, it leaves the album just kind of feeling vacant. A couple cool production ideas propping up someone making the blandest possible version of that sound. And that's ultimately where I fall on Swag. A couple cool production ideas hampered by the fact that it's all built to serve Justin friggin' Bieber, who is neither a good enough songwriter nor singer to make them all that compelling or interesting or unique, especially when he has even less to say, as it sounds like these lyrics were thrown together in a half hour. At its best, if you want your R&B to set a chill, inessential vibe, Bieber's certainly done worse. When you put out Changes, I would rarely call it offensive, but it sure as hell's not that good, nor essential. You'll probably forget this came out by the end of the year. Hell, probably by the end of the month. Let's not overhype this, especially in R&B. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching. If you want to see more, please be sure to like, share, drop comments, subscribe. Yeah, I know I came across a little bit heated here, but I'm really sick and tired of Justin Bieber being propped up as some vaunted figure in R&B, because really, he's not. He's not doing anything that's all that special. He's writing a bunch of very flavorful, very modern beats, but getting the benefit of the name drawing in bigger name producers or better producers in the underground, better writers in the underground too, and I just don't think it's that special. And really, if we're being honest about R&B, we know that. We don't need to keep giving his lack of personality a continued cosign when there's a lot of better R&B acts out there. The only reason I'm covering it as early as I am is because, quite frankly, I find a lot of the business dealings around having Def Jam trying to step on clips to be kind of interesting. Might as well give this the thrashing that it mildly deserves. It's not even much of a thrashing, I just don't think it's interesting. Beyond that though, anything else I might be able to do to improve my presentation, I'm all ears. And if y'all want to get involved in helping support the channel, getting projects onto my schedule, or hell just yelling at me on my Discord, link to my YouTube memberships and Patreon are right over there. Don't feel obligated, tough times out there, I understand, but the option's available. Till then, I'm Mark, you're watching Spectrum Pulse, and I'll see you next time.